So I recently asked my Instagram followers on Warrior Martial Arts what questions they'd like me to answer in this Questions with Coaches series. And I got a really interesting question, and not like the typical question I get this question a lot, but it got framed in a way that I really enjoyed. So I'm going to read it to you guys, and then I'll go about answering it as best I can. Hey Az, really enjoyed the content. Keep it up. Thank you, I will. I notice you don't tend to aim your drills at any specific martial arts and often reference kickboxing, Muay Thai, Taekwondo, karate, amongst others. I was wondering, what do you think is the most effective martial arts? And if it's different, what is your favorite martial arts to watch and take part in? So kind of a three-part question. What do I believe is the most effective martial art? What is my favorite martial art to watch? And I found this really interesting. I don't know if he meant these as two separate questions or if he meant them as the same, but I'm going to take them as separate. And what is your favorite to take part in? So I'll preface this by saying that I run, for anyone who just knows me online, I run a kickboxing school. So I'm a freestyle kickboxer, mostly by training. I've also got a black belt in karate. I've done Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. I've done small circle Jiu Jitsu. I've practiced Taekwondo. I've done judo. I've done wrestling. I enjoy and have practiced all facets of martial arts over the 20 plus years that I've been training. So I've got a lot of experience and I don't have any particular loyalty to any style other than the fact that, like I said, I teach kickboxing because that's where I am at my most proficient. I feel like that's where I have the most to give back to the community. So let me go through these questions. The first question is the one you get asked all the time as a martial artist, as a martial art coach. What do you think is the most effective style of martial art? And that's a very broad statement and question because really it's what do you mean by effective? Do you mean it in the sense of what is the best style to learn for self-defense? Do you mean it as which is the best style to learn or to compete in? And is that from the point of view of there's good competition or there's money to be made or a career to be had? Or what is simply the best for your health overall? And this will all bring you to different places. So let me answer it from a few points of view and I'll try to be quick about it. I try not to rant too much. Self-defense, there are two martial arts that I think that everyone should do for a certain amount of time. And again, this is coming from a freestyle kickboxer. I'm going to say that everyone should do some Muay Thai for the striking. The reason I would suggest Muay Thai is it's what's known as the art of 8 limbs. And in my opinion, it's the most destructive and effective stand-up form of fighting. In the sense of it's got all the ranges. You've got the long range of the kicks, you've got the closer range with the hands, you've got the closer range with the knees, and you've got the super close range with the elbows. It's also inherently good for self-defense because punching with a bare fist is not recommended. There's a reason that every combat sport that involves striking involves you wrapping your hands, including bare knuckle boxing, where they call it bare knuckle, but the reality of it is they still have to have wrist wraps because your hand is really not designed to punch things. And you'll end up doing more damage to your hands than you probably will to anyone who you hit, especially if you're having to hit them more than once. So the ability and the understanding of how to hit with your elbows and hit with your knees and throw kicks to the legs is a really effective tool from a self-defense point of view. Now, in my kickboxing school, we make a point of including elbows, knees, open hand striking, hammer fisting, all of this, although it's not part of what we would call freestyle kickboxing, which is mostly above the waist kicks and punches. We understand that from a self-defense point of view, we needed to broaden the spectrum in terms of what we covered. The other martial art that I think everyone should at least spend some time on, and it doesn't need to be an awful lot, is Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. Because this is the art of fighting on the floor, and this is the art of defending yourself from things like being choked or put into headlocks and all these positions that are surprisingly common in a self-defense situation. I think it's something like 80% of fights end up on the floor anyway. So if you know what you're doing down there, not necessarily from an attacking point of view. And if you start Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it actually starts from a point of view of survival and defense before it gets into attacking. But from that point of view of defense and protecting yourself, I think it's really important. Now, the reason I won't pick between the two, the overwhelming weakness of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in terms of self-defense is it doesn't work well in groups. As in, if you are being attacked by 3 people, you can very easily and very safely defend against the first guy. You can get them in a rear naked choke, you can put them in an armbar, but the problem is once the other 2 guys come in on you, it's very difficult to deal with multiple attackers. Now, Muay Thai deals a bit better with this because striking is a bit more inept at movement and adjusting your position, and it makes it a little less likely that you're going to get beaten up by 3 people. I think a combination of the 2 makes for a very dangerous, very powerful combination that should allow you, in most cases, to defend yourself. I feel like I went on a bit of a rant, even though I promised I wouldn't, so apologies. Moving on. Now, the next part of the question was, what is my favorite to watch and take part in? And again, I didn't know if that was 2 in the same, but I can say that it's 2 separate answers for me, so I will answer them separately. My favorite one to take part in is kickboxing, and is my style of kickboxing, freestyle kickboxing. Freestyle kickboxing, for anyone who wants to look it up, I'd say Wacko is your best source in terms of good amount of content. It includes things such as K1 kickboxing, full contact kickboxing, which is above the waist, as in there's no leg kicks and there's no elbows or knees. Light continuous, kick light, points fighting. All of these styles I really enjoy to practice and take part in. The reason being is, as striking martial arts go, I believe that they are some of the safest to practice. They are some of the best ways of introducing children in a very safe but effective environment for them to enjoy a lot of the benefits of martial arts. It's very much a sport. So the environment around clubs like our club and others is that we're a sports team. You know, we are a group of coaches, and we have our fighters, and we have guys who are there just for fitness. We have girls that are there just to, for the community and everything in between. So it's a very all-welcoming, all-encompassing martial art, as I'm sure many are. But from my experience of doing so many martial arts, I've never found a home and a family quite like my kickboxing home. And the biggest thing is I think how great it is, and in my experience with kids. I've just seen so many great kids come out of it and build confidence and get into competitions and do things that they never thought, or their parents never thought they'd be capable of doing. And I've just seen tons of benefits. And I know this is true for all martial arts. Again, it's a very personal answer, so don't take this as me putting down or saying any styles are not like this. The final one, though, is which one do I enjoy to watch the most? And that has to be MMA. And I think that's an obvious answer when you take into consideration, like what the guy said in the beginning of this question, was I tend not to try to be too specific to any one style because I really enjoy all styles. I am mostly a stand-up fighter, so I tend to lean to enjoying stand-up fighting more, but I very much enjoy the ground game. I really respect what jiu-jitsu is and what wrestling is, and the whole mechanics of getting someone to the ground or stopping someone from getting you to the ground. So MMA is by far my favorite martial art to watch. I also think that of all the popular ones to watch, and the popular ones to watch I'd actually say is only 2, and I don't know if you call the first one a martial art, which is boxing and MMA. In terms of its commercial reach, I don't enjoy the boxing model. I don't enjoy the fact that you watch a night of boxing for just the main event. The only real fight that you're there for is the main event. I don't enjoy the 12 rounds. I do think it's too long. I'm not the biggest fan of the 10-point must system, and that's actually related more to MMA, how I think they could adjust it. But I find boxing to be a bit more tedious, and the recent events with things like celebrities being involved in boxing, in my opinion, personally, I don't think it does the sports any favors. I appreciate it gets more eyes on it, it gets more views on it, but I think it dilutes it, and I think it, for want of a better word, it perverts the sport in not a great way. MMA, really enjoy it. I find that you can go watch a regional show or a smaller promotion and get just as much enjoyment from an evening of those fights as you would from watching the UFC and watching someone fight for the world championships. I really enjoy watching the women fight as much as the men fight, and I can't say that about a lot of other sports, and I don't know if that's just a personal thing, but I tend to lean towards, and I think this is true in statistics anyway, that we watch more men's sports than women, but MMA has some real amazing female personalities, amazing athletes, and I'd say I'm as much a Valentina Shevchenko fan as I am any of the men on the roster. I have more appreciation for Amanda Nunes and what she's done than a lot of the men on the other side of the roster. And I can't say that for a lot of other sports, and in particular for a lot of martial arts. So huge fan. That's the one that I enjoy watching the most. I'll end it with an important note for any parents watching this or anyone watching this who are looking to get into martial arts. When it comes to choosing a martial art, here's what I tell everyone. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Unless you are very clear on what you're looking to achieve with it, as in you want to be a UFC fighter, well then there's a few very clear paths that you can take to that. Or you want to be a boxer, then there's only one way to go. You go into boxing. But if you're generally looking to do martial arts, these are actually the things I will tell you to focus on when you start looking around. Do you like the coach? So when you go to a class or when you look at the website, whenever, anything like that, do you like the coach? Do you like the way they teach? Do you like the way they talk? Do you understand them? Do you like their philosophy? Because that's the biggest part of what's going to keep making you come back week after week. You might really enjoy the martial art that you're practicing, but if the coach isn't delivering it in a way that's good for you, and this is going to really vary from person to person, then that's probably going to stop you long before what you would have naturally stopped because of your own limits of what you wanted to do with the martial arts. So that's the first thing, is really eye up the coach. Don't get too hung up on facilities. And I say this as someone who doesn't have the best facilities to teach from. I generally teach in community centers, public halls, church halls. And in my opinion, what you need to practice martial arts effectively is space. Hanging punch bags are great. Weights are great. Equipment, all of this stuff is great. But what you really need to practice the art of combat with another person is space in order to do so. So if you go into a hall and, it's a church hall and it's just got mats on the floor, I wouldn't pass judgment on that when I wouldn't hang that too high in terms of your decision-making process for picking a school, because the reality of it is even in these really nice plush gyms, you tend to spend most of your time just on the floor with a partner, basically doing the same stuff. So in the long run, it's not going to carry the weight as how good the instruction is, how much you enjoy the environment in terms of the community there and all the rest of it. Focus on those things. And beyond that, it's obviously look at the pricing. I would say don't go with the cheapest one that you can find. You do get what you pay for with these things, and I think martial art instructors are chronically underpaid, and of course I'm going to say that, but I do think that we undervalue ourselves as an industry in terms of all the time and energy we put into. So get someone who appreciates and respects what they do and puts a lot of love and passion into it, because that's what you're going to receive when going to it. So I hope that answers the question for you guys. I apologize if I ranted on a little bit longer. If there's anything you would like me to answer, you can ask a question down below in the comments. You can find us on Instagram, and I often ask it via Instagram stories on there. You can send us a DM, all that good stuff, and I will see you on the next one. See you later. Bye.